So I'm just going to show you a bit of my own work first, just as a way of showing you who I am. Not that we're supposed to judge who we are by our work, but my hobbies are fairly boring, so I'll show you the work. So I started off as a model maker. Gosh, I feel like a bit like the Wizard of Oz down here. Yeah, this was a project for the Muppet Treasure Island. That was when I just started work, and then I worked in the photographic industry and did this model for a still. Yeah, lots like this. So the arrows, they get us through. Yeah, more models. Then I did an invention. This was for, I don't know if they're in order. Yes, they are. So this is for keeping the cat's food fresh after it's served. It's like a pedal bin, but for the cat food. The cat operates it by putting its paw on the pedal, which raises the lid. It has its food, and then when it leaves and the paw's off the pedal, the lid comes back down, so it keeps the food fresh and the flies out. Then I did some photography work. I assisted photographers, thinking I wanted to become a photographer. It's a very competitive industry, so I decided against it, and I did a few test shoots, and then went back to model making. Then eventually I studied industrial design. So this was my graduation project, which were experiments into personal relationships. So this is a pair of wine glasses to teach couples to empathize. So when the wine is poured into one, it fills both. There's a sort of hollow tube that joins them. So these are some friends testing it out. So it teaches cooperation in that you have to raise the glasses together. If you just lift one, like the lady is, it'll all disappear into the other person's wine glass, so you have to drink together. This is a similar idea for sharing a cigarette. This one is called Till Death Do Us Part. We need to draw on the pipe together, otherwise you just get air. So it's again cooperation. This one, it's a little double-sided mirror in this frame, which when they line up their faces, they can swap the mouths. So it gives the sensation that the other person is speaking your words. So that teaches empathy, because we see how it is to hear ourselves. This was a shop window display for Selfridges. It's inspired by a kaleidoscope. This was at the Serpentine. This was right before I did my master's in industrial design. This was to, now I'm trying to remember why I did this. So the lady here, the tool she's using, it gives the sensation that she's a rabbit. So again, it's teaching empathy. So it's two periscopes that lower the eye level to the ground. They also look out, so down the tubes, the light goes up the tube, and the mirrors are sideways. So rabbits' eyes are on the side of their heads because they're prey, rather than us, we're predators. So they're looking out sideways, and rabbits hop as they move. So the light tunnel is offset from the center of the wheel. So as you push it along, it goes up and down like a bouncing rabbit. I was concerned that people would feel self-conscious using this thing, you know, if people are wondering what she's doing. So to make it clear, I put the rabbit ears on, and then there's a little tail on the end of a string, so people know what she's doing. You know, see in the shadow, it's turned her into a rabbit, so hopefully she feels less self-conscious about doing this. Okay, and then, so for several years I was kind of a bit lost really, doing different things, not sure where my place was going to be in the industry, till I started doing my own brand. So this was my first piece for the brand. It's a stainless steel bowl. It sits in 3 positions, so they kind of all tell stories, so it can either be a little bit timid with its contents, or it can be more extrovert and show it off. I first took that to a shop, thinking it would be quite easy to sell, and they explained to me that if you're going to be a vendor, so suddenly I was not a designer, I'm a vendor, you need to make a brand and you need a collection, and then that's a more coherent package to supply a shop. So I thought, well, what else can I put at 3 angles? And I did this wine decanter. So as we drink, the wine level goes down and you can lean it over more and more. So it's as though the decanter is getting drunk with us as we drink. Somebody asked me, does it lean over on its own? I said, no, you've got to lean it over yourself. But I took it as a kind of a challenge to make a container that would lean over on its own as the liquid level goes down. So I did this flower vase. So as the flower drinks the water, the weight of the water holds it upright. This one doesn't have any base. It's all spherical. Yeah, this leans over on its own as there's less water. Oh, video. This doesn't normally work in lectures. So, well done, Greenwich. So this is a stop motion film of the flower drink. So this is about 4 days we're looking at here. It drinks the water most quickly as the flower opens because the flower it's doing that because it's filling with water. So it's really dragging it up the tube at that point. I think that's it. So that's section 1. You need to sort me out for the next folder. Yeah, so what's next? So I'll tell you about the exhibition. Then I'll talk about neurodiversity, of which dyslexia is a part. And then I've got a puzzle for you. We'll play 20 questions in order for you to guess what the last part of the lecture is going to be. I haven't done this before. I'm experimenting on you. And
you all want to be part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Exhibition, yeah. So if you can get all these to
and these.
Everything in the folder, if you can get it, yeah.
And this picture as well. We can play these ones first, then we can go to the exhibition.
Okay.
If we open
so what's this? I'm a bit confused. This looks good, yeah.
And then you have in here, you have...
Oh, yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
I could show that.
I've seen that. That was in King's Cross, St. Martin's. Right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll play it. I'll see how it is after this one, yeah.
Same way.
Okay. Okay, we got there. It was Christmas of 2015 and I was just driving back from my cousins who live in Yorkshire, and I was getting bored of listening to all the music, so I started finding talk radio stations. I found LBC Radio, and they had a phone-in about dyslexia, and I was very interested because I'm dyslexic and I hadn't heard anything about it in the media. So I was listening, and for me, I know that dyslexia comes with some gifts, although it comes with difficulties as well. You know, at school I found spelling difficult, memory, languages impossible, all sorts of things. But I know that I can design the way I do because of my dyslexic thinking. So I was waiting for someone on the radio to say something good about it, but they were only complaining about it. They were saying, oh, my kids are dyslexic and it's terrible for them, and I hope my kids aren't going to be dyslexic, and I was dyslexic, and you know, life's very challenging. And this is all true, but nobody phoned in about the good stuff. And what really upset me was there was a caller told about this sperm bank that had refused donations from dyslexics, which, well, firstly, it's illegal, but also it's surprising because, you know, there's lots of famous people like Richard Rogers, the architect, or Richard Branson, the Virgin Media tycoon, who are dyslexic. So, you know, there's lots of good examples of it. So I was kind of driving and I was too upset about it to phone in just then. So I thought, well, I'll do a press release and I'll send it to a newspaper and I'll give examples of designers who are dyslexic to show the gifts that it brings. And the journalist told me it's not really a news story here. You know, you really need an event or something to be happening. So I thought, well, okay, I'll do an exhibition then. I thought it was going to be quite easy, but it actually turned out to take most of 2016. So I started, these are kind of the steps that led up to the exhibition. So I thought, okay, I need a venue. I've got no budget at all. So I just started ringing around the trade shows. So Design Junction, they were the second one I called. So they do trade shows for designers and design brands to promote themselves, to get some press coverage and get some sales. So they immediately, the lady that runs it, Deborah Spencer, she's dyslexic. Her dyslexic gift is over-the-top thinking. She can see the big picture of things, which is how she can run a very chaotic trade show. She'll just quickly understand what's going on and piece all these many parts together. So that was the venue. They've got a PR agency called Caro, and they picked this up as their big story. So they got it in all the design press all over the world. And then about 8 weeks before the show, Abe Rogers, the space designer, the interior designer, he came across it in the press, and he wrote me this very nice, humble email saying, I'm sure you're absolutely on top of everything, but if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. And of course, you know, me being me, and 8 weeks before the show, I still wasn't on top of it. And I asked him if he'd designed the space, which he agreed to. And we didn't have any funding for the show. We were gifted the space, and the property developers, London Newcastle, they gave us a budget, so we then had some money to put it all together. So these are some of the Dyslexics. So this is at King's Cross now. This is the space we were given. The space itself was sponsored by another property developing company, and they had this idea for little buildings, little monopoly houses. So they gave us one of these red houses, and you can see the show inside. Yeah, I'll just talk about some of these. So this at the back here is Abe's piece that he put in. It's a ladder that he made for his father. He asked him for a sort of a tree house. He wanted a space to get away and be able to think about things. So it leans against the wall. It's called the ladder that likes the wall. He can sit at the top. There's a little platform for a book for him to read. Inside the piece of wood that comes out to the side, there's a little slot for a glass of wine. For me, it's symbolic for this gift I was talking about of dyslexia, the over-the-top thinking. Some dyslexics can just see what's going on very quickly. What Abe says is, for him, it represents dyslexia in a different way, in that dyslexics also have lots of challenges, and dyslexics need other people around them to help with all the things they find difficult, and they don't stand alone. In the same way the ladder doesn't stand on the alone, it needs the wall to hold it up. This here is by Christiana Williams. She's got very rich visual thinking. I think I've got close-ups of these. Let me just skim through. If not, I'll go back. Oh yeah, these are better. Okay. This is Rohan. He's a fashion designer that, after studying fashion in India, he trained in industrial design in London. So he now uses the design processes of industrial design to design fashion. So he went on to work at Nike. Now he's at Ralph Lauren in New York. So his piece is this jacket. It's a comment on how we shouldn't be hunting endangered species. So here, it's a hunter jacket. All of the jacket unfastens and unbuttons and reshapes, and you can fold it back up around this little mannequin here, and it goes into the form of a gorilla that's been hunted and hung up as a trophy. So what he's demonstrating here is very strong three-dimensional thinking, in that he's had to take a two-dimensional shape, the fabric, reconfigure it into a three-dimensional shape, and then with the same pieces, have it also be able to reassemble into a completely different shape. So he's really having to design two things at the same time. This is Terence Woodgate's piece, which he did in collaboration with a racing car Formula One driver, Barnard, he's called, the other chap. For me, this is an example of lateral thinking, which is another thing that comes with dyslexia. So mixing these processes, using the processes to make a racing car, to make a table, it's a surprising thing to do. So because of the incredible strength that we need for racing cars, but also lightness, by using that for a table, he's able to make it very, very long and very, very thin. It also gives this very nice surface finish. It's kind of like a pool of oil. This is Terence. This is Tina Crawford's piece. So she does her work. She makes illustrations on a sewing machine. So she'll normally draw them out this way and then photograph them and use them as prints for ceramics for the various museums and shops, gift shops around London. So she's having to draw in a kind of backwards way in that normally we move the pencil across the page. Here, she's using the needle of the sewing machine on the fabric, so she's having, which is static, so she's having to move the fabric rather than the pen, the needle. She says it's easier for her to, she's done it so much now, she finds it easier to write on the sewing machine than she does to write in a normal way. This is a comment on the Brexit. So this was I think this was right after the vote. So she's drawn Europe here, and she's used this coloured thread that gives all the colours of the different flags. It works very well because when she draws in this way, the machine leaves these loose bits of, or these bits of thread that connect all the bits. You know, with a pencil you can lift it off the page. She can't lift the needle because it's attached. She has to do all the lines in between, and then at the end she normally snips them and throws them away. But here, because so all the other countries she's keeping the connections between them, but here the lines to the UK, they're ready to cut. Oh no, she has cut them. I think she's just left them for Ireland. Is that right? Are we keeping Ireland in the EU? She knows what's going on. This is Tina at her machine. Oh, so that's close up of the ladder. You can see the slot for the glass of wine there. So that's Abe. That's Rex, his dog. So that's Christiana Williams's piece. So she's got very rich visual imagery. So this is a map of London. This is a pair. This is it East London or West London? Is it East London? Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, so there's Christiana. Okay, so this is Richard Rogers's chairs. We can see at this table. These chairs were made for the Pompidou Centre, which he won an award for, and he was so the architects had to pitch for this, and he got to build it. So it's a kind of he's found a different way to make a building. Normally, what architects will do is they'll put all of the electricity cables and the pipes for the toilets and the drainage and the lifts, they're all normally hidden away inside the building. Here he's turned it inside out, which is quite a dyslexic way of thinking. He's put everything on the outside, and he's made it look very good rather than hiding it away. So these chairs, which were custom designed for the building, these are surprising in that they work, in that I would expect this not to be strong enough to support a person because, well, normally we put the four legs very well spaced on a chair. Here he's kept two of them spaced apart, but in the other direction, they're very close together, which means when we sit on it, we're acting as a lever against this, so it naturally wouldn't be very strong. What he's done here is he's just used very strong materials and strong welding, so it works. So as a dyslexic, I understand that he found school quite challenging, and having had this training where everything is difficult, dyslexics are quite often prepared to try things that are difficult and also to try things that won't necessarily work, and then find a way to make it work. These are Tom Raphael's Chandeliers. This is Tom. He's got a lovely workshop in Cornwall. He's got this idyllic life. He set up his own practice there in the countryside, away from London. It's about 80 meters in length of wood to make one of these. It's not all one piece, it's several pieces. But for me, this represents, again, very strong three-dimensional thinking to get all these pieces working together, to get the wood evenly spread so the light's even around it. Yeah, he says when he's working them out, he uses bits of tin foil because it's quite easy and it holds its shape. This is Beth and Laura Wood's piece. That's Bethan. So she's used the tradition of marquetry in a very modern way. Traditionally, it was used for wood and veneer for decorating table surfaces. Here, she's used kitchen laminate material, much like this one actually, and she's used different colours. So she's used this traditional process in a very modern way. Okay, this is Tiffin's piece on my side here. It's a sculpture. It's an alternative way of disposing of our dead. So she proposes that after a person is cremated, we rapid prototype the ashes into a sculpture. and then little bacteria can start to live on it. So I don't know if I've got another picture of it. That's too thin. So it's got this kind of life cycle thing. So as well as turning our deceased into a sculpture rather than a little urn of ashes, it's also got this life cycle thing where the life is made to continue after the death, and we're reminded that man evolved from bacteria long, long ago, before all the animals in between. This is Thomas's video. That's a close-up of it, so I don't know if this will play. So he made this by pointing the video camera at the screen as it's playing. So this is the feedback interference pattern. Okay, the stripes on the wall. So this is the decoration that Abe wanted to do for the show. I was very surprised it worked, but it worked very well in that I thought nothing would show up against this very confusing background, but somehow the pieces really stand out against it. The inspiration from it was the font that we saw at the beginning. No, I can't easily get back to it. With the missing parts of the letters. So it was causing a confusion to represent dyslexia in the logo. So he wanted to make a confusion in the space. So this is inspired by the dazzle pattern that they used to paint on the warships. I think it was in World War I. Maybe it was World War II. The idea wasn't to camouflage the ships, but to disorientate the enemy. So they'd try and shoot at the boats with submarines. When you shoot a torpedo at a boat, it takes some time for it to leave the submarine and hit the target. I don't know what it is. Let's guess it's 20 or 30 seconds. So you have to anticipate where the boat is going to be in 20 or 30 seconds' time. So what they would do here is they've made it very difficult to tell in the fog across the sea which the front of the boat is. And actually this close I can't tell. I think maybe it's here, but it might be there or there. So, it'll let the enemy think that it's going to go that way when it's actually going to go that way, and the torpedo will miss. So it's sort of making this disorientation, and dyslexics are always going off in odd directions. And I guess it was quite a lateral thinking process that would come up with a solution. It's not certain whether it was effective or not. There's not very much data on it, but it's an interesting solution. Okay, we're on to the next bit. Will you help me with so the next bit, yeah, I don't know too much about the rest of neurodiversity yet. I'm just starting to look into it. So there's just, I think we don't need that other one. It's just the exhibition, yeah.
This one?
That one, yeah. And there's 2 films. I don't know if they're going to work. Okay, so this is just a list of the different types of neurodiversity. So people with Asperger's, they're very good at the detail. They spot things. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Yeah, my understanding is they're people that need to change activity very often. Now, the common perception of neurodiversity is that they're disabilities. So, for example, dyslexia is classified as a disability. I disagree with this in that I think it's a normal part of our population, the variations we have in people, and I think it's beneficial within groups of population. So, for example, I don't know, somebody with attention deficit disorder who likes to change activity very quickly, they're going to be good at certain things. You know, maybe they're a good manager in a company where they're having to go from lots of different groups and just see what's going on all the time. They're not somebody that's going to be good at sitting still. You know, so this particular mindset in that situation, it's going to be a healthy thing in a population rather than a disability. Dyspraxia, that's very closely related to dyslexia. They also have trouble with coordination and sports and this sort of thing. And it's an offset, you know, because the brain is stronger in this way, it's weaker in another way. So it's good, it's healthy within groups of people to have these varying gifts. Dyscalculia is difficulty with numbers. Bipolar, yeah, I've put that in. I'm not sure if it is a part of neurodiversity or something that comes. Synesthesia, I'll come to that one after because we've got a film about that. Introvert also, I don't think it's classified as neurodiversity, but I believe that if somebody is an introvert, it does direct the type of work, design work they do. In that, you know, for an artist, it will be more introspective work, and they'll prefer to work alone. So synesthesia, I've got two little clips. So synesthesia is very interesting. It's where the brain has made some extra connections where there aren't normally connections. So there should just be two. Yeah. Oh. I'll have a. So, for example, so the senses can get connected. So it can work in different ways. You can get a synesthetic who will see a colour and it will trigger a smell. So I'm seeing a lot of green here in the audience. If I was synesthetic, it could, and there's no logic to it, it could trigger a smell, I don't know, of my pet cat. I had an intern once who was synesthetic. She had numbers and people. Okay. Which one is it?
I'll try to fill
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So I would be able to say to her, what is number 67? And she would say, that's a businessman with a hat and an umbrella. And I'd say, what's 29? She'd say, that's a fat lady in a dress with flowers. And she wasn't making it up. It's just because she had this extra wiring in her brain, when her knowledge had developed, they were linked naturally because that was her brain structure. It can work in other ways. You get composers with it, so they'll mix visual with sound. They'll be able to look at a painting and they will hear it as well as see it. So some of the famous composers, particularly the abstract jazz ones, they would just look at a painting and then the music, they would just have to write it down. It would be there. It was like transcribing it. The video, I'm hoping, maybe we just Google it. Yeah? Brilliant. Ahead of me. So, do you know the film Ratatouille? It's, yeah? Yes, animation. So the mouse, he's got this exceptional ability. Oh, very good. Yeah, he's very talented with tastes and smells, which is how he became this phenomenal chef. What they want to do in this scene is to, because we don't have smell in cinema and taste in cinema, they wanted to show visually what the mouse was tasting and smelling. So they tracked down this animator who has synesthesia, and I believe his synesthesia was mixing definitely visual, I think visual and taste. So he was very easily able to take the food that the mouse was describing and then just try it and then just draw what he saw in his mind and turn it into an animation. Okay, let's...
Oh, Cousteau was right. Oh, yeah. Oh, amazing. Each flavor was totally unique. But combine one flavor with another, and something new was created. I brought you something to... Ah! No! Spit that out right now! Oh, I have got to teach you about food. Close your eyes. Now, take a bite of this. No! Don't just hork it down! Here. And chew it slowly. Only think about the taste. See?
Not really.
Creamy, salty, sweet, and oaky nuttiness. You detect that?
Oh, I'm detecting nuttiness.
Close your eyes. Now taste this. A whole different thing, right? Sweet, crisp, slight tang on the finish.
Okay.
Now, try them together.
Okay. I think I'm getting a little something there. It might be the nuttiness.
See?
Could be the tang.
That's it. Now, imagine every great taste in the world being combined into infinite combinations. Tastes that no one has tried yet. Discoveries to be made.
I think.
Uh-huh.
You lost me again.
Okay. Actually, I only needed half of that, but I didn't like to interrupt it. That's it. So the bit the animator did was the background bit in the dark. I've forgotten the production company for the film. But so the main company, they did the mice, and then the animator I was talking about. Oh, this might be good. Yeah. Of course, we get ads. Yeah. So what's it? We could, yeah, and then we can stop it if, yeah. So these are our sponsors. So this is from the animator directly. This is the actual bit that was put in the background. Okay. How are we doing for time? Should we do the...
What do you want to do?
Yeah? Okay. I think... oh, yeah.
The questions, right?
I think so, yeah. Okay, yeah, we can just... So these are some clues, which probably aren't very helpful. But so these relate to the... So a helpful clue is this small segment, secret part of the lecture, has nothing to do with neurodiversity. I just wanted to try it out on you. So these are clues to what this part of the lecture is going to be. So now I invite you, do you know the game 20 questions? So you ask up to 20 questions which have a yes or no answer. I don't know, is it a country, is it a person, is it an animal? And I'll say yes or no, and hopefully you'll zoom in and get to what I'm actually going to talk about. And then I'll talk about it. So yeah, that's all of the not very helpful clues that you have. If you think of them in an abstract way, they have an abstract relationship with the topic. Okay, we need your questions. If you just raise your hand, I'll... Yeah. Yes?
Is it the film?
No, it's not a film.
Okay, Ken, do you feel the next one? Ryan, go on.
No. Who's going to count? Am I counting? Okay. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Is it about sound?
No.
Is it to do with health and safety?
No. Oh yeah, the clues are very misleading. Yeah. But sorry. Yes.
Is it a game?
No.
Is it about science?
No. I'll break the rules. I say it can be for people.
We have 13 questions left.
Sorry. A city? No.
It can be considered.
It's used as a product. It is sold. Yes.
Is it a physical object?
Yes. That's actually got us somewhere. Yes, it's a.
We have 5 questions left.
Yeah.
Physical object that can be sold.
Think before
Yes.
that. And it's like... It's related to the next part of the lecture, right? The next part of the talk. So
I'm going to talk about it anyway. You don't get out of it if you don't get it. So, yeah.
Is it used in a home?
Sorry.
Is it used in a home?
In homes.
Yeah.
Yes.
do you have one with you at the moment?
No.
3 questions. She had enough sleeping before.
Is it-
Is it something you take to places?
You can. Yes, it's not. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it, but
2 more. Okay,
Yes.
one top there and one here.
is it light? No.
One
Oh,
more.
do you mean light as in weight or light as in does it give? Is it actual light? No.
One more.
But to help, it's quite light in weight. Yeah. Did we have? So is this the last one?
One more, yeah.
Yeah, I think I wasn't helpful with the photographs.
Go back to the last one.
Which one? Yeah. This one.
No, the last one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of these are helpful for you at all. They're all, yeah, which is probably why. Yeah, no, well, you'll see the link when I show you, but yeah.
Come on, the last one.
Okay, yes.
Babe,
It's made of material, but it's not a certain material. Yeah, okay, good.
any guess?
So, sorry,
It is slow cooker.
a slow cooker? No. Okay, we need the next section of the...
I think it is.
Do you have a guess, Anastasia?
Yeah, it can be. You know, my thinking is a bit weird, so I don't
Oh, that's what we need. Well, with these, yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, so where do I go?
Secret lecture, yes.
Is this?
Yeah, so all of these, if these can,
They apply.
yes.
Wow.
Okay. Good. Okay,
Are you ready?
yes. This is the object I had in mind. The misleading pictures will make sense. So it's an egg. Raymond Loewy he was an industrial designer from early last century. He did a lot of the products across America, well, pretty much everything that was used. He did shavers, high-speed trains, watches, cigarette packets. He was, the most renowned industrial designer in America at the beginning of the 20th century. He said the form is absolutely streamlined and functional. It's the perfect design. And he went on to say, if the egg were any other shape, the life of the hen would be intolerable. So we're going to look at why the egg is working so well. So it needs to be very strong from the outside to protect it from, animals that are hunting the egg, but also possible to escape from the inside. This is kind of egg-shaped, this bridge. I'm not absolutely sure, but I think there's no cement. There's nothing hold it together. It's just held together by its own shape. So any force on the outside is actually pushing it together more strongly. If you were to imagine the chicken inside, the chick ready to hatch, if it was to push, you could see that it would come apart. So we're looking also at how man is using these ideas that we can take from nature. So here an architect has used this naturally very strong shape to make a building. It's looking a bit more egg-like. This was a model made to design the shape of a cathedral. So they've used little bean bags and hung them on strings, and they've used gravity. So he's constructed the cathedral upside down, and it's hung into this natural shape that's very strong. And then when he reverses the shape and uses it as a plan for his cathedral, it's going to be a very strong building. And there it is. Okay, the egg. So the egg needs to, its first job is to exit the chicken. As far as I can work out, the internal passages of the chicken, they squeeze on the egg and they force it outwards. So in order not just to stand still inside the chicken, it needs to be tapered so it has a direction. So this narrower side is going to help it move in the direction of the wider side. If it was too tapered, it's going to come out fast, more easily, which is probably good for the chicken, but it's a compromise here. A longer egg has other disadvantages. It's not as strong. It also is not going to hold the heat so well, which we'll come on to. These are suppositories, so these are medicines that we can take that are taken through the exit rather than the entrance. And so we can see the egg shapes here used. The top one is most egg-like. These actually don't need to maintain heat, so these can be longer. If it was completely round, it wouldn't be able to move. It would stay, the chicken would have a more difficult job of getting the egg out. But although it would be much better at withholding the heat, which it needs to after it's hatched, so the chicken has to sit on the egg to keep it warm. So it's going to have, the smaller the surface area, the round shape, it's got less surface to lose the heat from. So here it makes a very good shape for a teapot, because that's going to lose the heat less easily. Now a radiator is doing the opposite thing. It's trying to lose heat. It's trying to get the heat out from the boiler into the house. It's got as much surface area here as it can have. And then this is like the chick. So in the same way that the chick has to escape the egg, this is a difficult job for the chick. So if somebody gets trapped in the car, they've got to escape through the window, so we're given this tool in the car. So they've both got this very narrow, hard beak and on a small area, and also it's acting on the concave part of the egg rather than the convex, so it's more easily able to leave. Okay, we finished, that's it, yeah. So, we've got a...
Just prepare a couple of questions, all right? Stacey, do you want to start asking anything, or?
Yeah, no, it was a really whirlwind journey, so there's lots of things in my head now. So to start off, like, I'm really interested in these kind of empathy tools and the kind of beginning of your journey through this idea of constructing empathy in people, like for the rabbit and stuff, and then moving into more kind of human issues like dyslexia and now neurodiversity. And I'm kind of interested in how that might progress, whether you think that the neurodiversity is going to become empathy tools or whether that's sort of going to extend this sort of practice.
Yeah, that's a good idea to do empathy tools for neurodiversity. I hadn't thought of it.
Okay.
I'll go, yeah. It's, yeah, it would be a good idea, because we all, yeah, I mean, I don't understand all these different things yet, and it would be good if we can find a way to communicate them.
Yeah, yeah. So, go on.
You talk about neuroscience in a way, and you said that that coming from a product design background in a way, and now you want to explore this neuroscience aspect of it. And I know there are quite a few people here that they, for some reason this year, the students, especially in their projects, their final projects, they work a lot into the human body, health, social impact, the issues we face in our everyday life. So why do you think that a designer would need to have an understanding on neuroscience when it comes from your perspective?
Gosh.
Where you think it's going?
Yeah. Where's it going?
Yeah.
Design.
Design, maybe.
And or my work, or
yeah, or your work, both.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know, where's it headed? Well, I think as a designer, it's we're very lucky because we have to be interested in everything. You know, I think in other professions, you know, you're sort of just interested in what you're interested in, but as a designer, you have to, you know, quickly swat up on all these other things that we're designing for. So I think we're very lucky in that way, and yeah, neuroscience, it's quite early days for it, isn't it? It's sort of, I don't know, our species is, how old's our species? I think our species is 200,000 years old. Is that right? Something like this.
I can say yes, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, something like that.
I think since we became man as we are, I think we're 1 million years old, but we were kind of quite ape-like. It's only the last 200,000 years that we are man as we are today, and so it's only the last, I don't know, when did the word neuroscience come? 50 years?
Maybe.
No, it's not. It's not even an
No, it's
official
100
word yet. Actually, it's not. It's being used, but it's yeah, it's, I don't think it's officially, you know, a word that exists yet. Neuroscience or neurodiversity. That's what I mean. Neuroscience is neurodiversity is a new. So now, what's my point? I'm saying we're in a it's very new to us, this area. We're right at the beginning. We're only just able to start to look into our brains, and we still really don't understand it very well at all. I mean, the big one is self-awareness, you know, our soul. We do not understand, you know, we sort of compare ourselves as being like robots, which we're not. They work in completely different ways. We're much more complex, but we can make a sort of human-like behaving thing, but it won't have self-awareness. It won't have a soul, and we do not yet know how it is that we have this awareness. I guess we will figure it out. But, you know, I'm just saying we're right at the beginning of this. And this knowledge of our brains, it's going to, more and more as we learn more about it, it's going to come into our design practice, you know, as every other bit of knowledge does. Because, you know, we're designing for this animal, which we are. You know, everything is, you know, we've got these kind of ape-like hands. So the legs on this chair, they're that size so that my hands can fit round it, everything. Keyboards, they're all, you know, designed for this animal that we are. And, you know, as we learn more about ourselves, it's going to
evolve with us.
yeah, work our design practice. Does that?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like the idea of the 20 questions and
Yes.
the 4 images in the egg.
Yeah.
It says a lot that the nature itself, in
Yeah.
a way, designing for us, and then how we're taking these existing designs and we apply them to our everyday products. For example, like you said, the chair,
Yeah.
the laptop. There's raw material outside there that we can use in our design process,
Yes.
especially when it comes to create products or
Mhm.
communicate with.
Uh-huh.
Would you like to ask a question?
Anybody from the group has a question to ask?
So who's here? Is it one course or several? Or
There's different people
Third
here. I
year.
can see 3D anime, 3D digital design.
3D digital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graphic designers.
Year 2 and year
Uh,
3.
I've
Yeah.
seen some people I don't know.
Yeah. Any other courses here that we've not mentioned? Yeah.
So there are a couple of students that are looking, for example, areas that the combined area. One of the students in year 3, which is here in the group, and she doesn't talk, and she's smiling. She's working on autism.
Yes.
So she's looking in a way that how we can create products
Yes.
that we can really communicate to people with autism, any level of autism, like really fast, really quick, what
Yeah.
we need to explore.
Yeah.
So from your experience that you've been working with neuroscience and neurodiversity and product design, any advice, any thinking, what to look, how to look at it, how to challenge themselves?
So designing for neurodiverse is this?
For, yeah.
Or yeah.
Well, she's using autism, so...
Yeah. So what's your goal? Is it to design for someone who's autistic or for other people to help them understand? Or
Initially I was trying to design something to make people understand.
Yes.
Autism. Now I think I want to maybe design a product or something to help the everyday lives of autistic people. But
Yes.
I'm not sure where I'm really going at the moment.
yeah. So how far? What was your outcome for helping people understand the autism?
No, I was trying to kind of visually communicate sensory overload and that
Oh, yeah.
kind of feeling
Yeah.
and stuff. But I didn't really get too far with that.
But that's a good one because that's right, isn't it? Yeah, they struggle with all the information.
Yeah.
So designing, when I was before I did my degree in industrial design, I taught for a year at a special needs school, and I was trying to teach this very autistic girl how to play chess, no drafts, and I couldn't. We didn't manage. I couldn't explain what was part of the game and what wasn't part of the game. So you take a piece and you remove that piece and you put it comes off the board. For her, what was going on off the board was just as equal to what was going on the board. So I had to do something here and she'd start moving the pieces off the board as well. And yeah, there was like this fog between us. It was like another world between us. So how to design for someone who with an extreme neurodiversity?
You don't have to answer this question.
No, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Somebody dropped me a note, I think it was yesterday, from Ravensbourne. It wasn't asking how to encourage dyslexics to read and write on an iPad. And I'd just seen this lecture on the internet by It's Nice That Day. There's this lecture series about these these designers who had done ghost stories on the phones. So what they'd realised is, you see, what we normally do is when we read a story or a book on our mobile phone, we just do it like, we're quite lazy as designers. We just put the text on the phone and you read the text. And what they realised, their insight was that a phone is not a book. They're completely different mediums. When we design for something to be read on a phone, we look at what the phone's good at. So they noticed it has a camera. It knows where we are. It's got GPS. So they did a ghost story. And this book was designed to be read in the bedroom. The camera would see the room, and it would superimpose the room just foggily on the text. And these ghostly images would come through the book as you're reading it. It'll do more. I've not finished it yet. So, yeah, it's not really answered your question how to design. So for the question I had about the dyslexic reading on the computer, I'm saying look at the strengths of the mediums we use and use that to encourage. So, it doesn't help you so much. I don't know. How far are you? What ideas have you got so far? Or anyone else? Has anyone got any help? Yeah, you go first, yeah.
I mean, not much at the moment, but tomorrow I'm actually meeting up with a man who works for the National Autistic Society. And
Yes.
he also does digital media or something like that. He's actually trying to find a way to connect the two. And I said, oh, that's what I want to do as well. So we're going to kind of run through some ideas tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I don't really have much.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's okay. I guess the first thing we need to do is, like any area of design, is absolutely understand the person we're designing for, and then we, you know, so that it's like we know what's needed. Work with them closely. Ask, you know, bring them in as a sort of designer with you. So. Yeah, what you were doing in the first place to understand it, that's a very important first step in the research. And then I think when you're able to see the world yourself as a person with autism, then it'll be a lot easier. You'll sort of know what you need. It's like being an actor. You have to go into this role.
Great. Any other questions? No? Right. Jim, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks
you
very
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.